Hello, Dr. Ron England here, and today this is for my Web Systems II class, and they're using a number of different web services or basically cloud computing platforms. I'm going to talk a little bit about Amazon Web Services today. Just kind of get these guys, and you need to get up and running, and I think most of the students in the class have already done this, but this is a good way to get started. So what I've done here is I've actually gone into my Amazon console. Well, I went into a Amazon console that I created, but it is mine. I just have multiple. And up here, if you look, you see console.aws.amazon.com. I actually have an Amazon account that I've created so they can charge and bill me for stuff that I do. The reality is with the things that I'm doing today, you're not going to get charged and billed. And I just want to take you through a little bit of how to get up and running, let's say, in any type of platform. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, this is the console here, and we're going to talk a little bit about Elastic Bean Stalk. Now, if you read the information about Elastic Bean Stalk, Amazon breaks every single service up into its own little service. So if you looked at all the Amazon Web Services, all the different services that come through Amazon, you're going to probably see like 100 different services. Reality is, you don't want to spend time setting up every single one of those services to be able to build an application. You want them all to kind of be packaged. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use Elastic Bean Stalk. And Elastic Bean Stalk basically says, I need to deploy X. Well, if I need to deploy X, I need these services to support X. This is application X. And it lets you quickly pick essentially pre-configured instances for different types of services. So let's kind of go into this. I'm going to actually click in here into the Build a Web App underneath Build a Solution. So if I click onto that, what's going to happen is I'm going to get a little bit of I'm going to have a tutorial piece, but let's see if I can push this up so you can see the whole thing. So now you've got this thing where you've got an application name, and this is going to be able to create an environment for it. But the only thing that's important here that I'm going to show you here is that I'm going to give it a name so I can call it test. I'm actually not going to create it. I've already created one. And the reason I'm not going to create it right here is it takes a while. And I don't want you to sit here and wait for 20 minutes on a video. I, of course, could stop and restart. But I can easily just create it and then come back to it. Anyway, we can give it a name. But here's the big thing I want to show you here. This platform. I'm going to move that up a little bit. This platform. So you've got all these different platform choices that you can do that are pre-configured platforms. And what Amazon will do inside of Elastic Bean Stalk is create all the pieces you need to run a typical application underneath these. So for example, the application I'm going to actually show you in the demonstration is going to be a Node application, but I could just as easily done a .NET, Java, or one of these other types of applications. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to choose the platform that you want. You're going to click either upload your code now or sample application. You don't actually have to upload your code right now. You can upload it later. And but a sample application will actually get you started with sample code that's already uploaded, and the application is going to be up and running. And then simply you click Create Application. So that's what I'm going to show you right so much as far as getting it up and running. Not hard to do. Remember, it does take about, it took me about 20 minutes for it to actually happen. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to look a little bit at what actually occurred when I created the application. Right now I'm looking at the DynamoDB instance. Hang on, let me pull. One thing about this is if you do the tutorial, it does ask you to download the Unix tools. Actually, it's a good idea to do the Unix tools if you know how to set the path variable in your Windows so that those tools are available. If you don't have them available, they are really, really handy tools. Allow you to do all the different types of command line Unix that you might want to do. But it's not necessary because all the different things that you get from downloading those Unix tools, you've got inside of Windows or inside of Mac, depending upon which environment you're doing here. So let's go over here to the Elastic Bean Stalk. That's where I actually created the web app. I'm going to go ahead and close that now because I do not need it. And let's see, I don't need that one. Actually, I do because I got to go. Okay, here's what I'm looking for. Once I am done and I have created my Node.js application, and I'm just going to show you the sample tutorial one here. I'm in here and I've got the basic console up for all applications. Okay, I've got the tutorials. This is an actual running application right here, this little green thing here. And I can click into it, and it's going to take me to the interface, basically the console for operating with that application. So this is what it looks like. Now, here where it says upload and deploy, I've got the ability to send it a zip file of my application, which would be a written Node.js application, because that's the one that I went through and created, and it will actually deploy it. In fact, if I go right here and I open this in a new window, this is the actual application. And the application is running. It has a URL, tutorials env, so it's all right there. So everything is actually made. Now this application is the application, the one that you saw right there is the application that comes as part of the tutorial. But the beauty of that is that you've got the code that goes with the application. So if I come over to here, I had downloaded the application as a zip file. And if you look in here, the code that goes with the application is right here in views. If I edit with Notepad++, I can bring it over here and bring it over here. And you can actually see the code that is that application. Isn't that nice? So it's all right there. And I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of thinking this probably looks like a single-page architecture. I didn't look at the application a whole lot. Actually, about blog press, those are all H references that are internal. So yes, it's a single-page application. You may not know what that means. You may know what that means. It really doesn't matter. It's just the fact that there actually is an application written in Node that you've actually got available to you. And very quickly, if you follow just the steps in the deployment, you will have an up and running Node.js on Amazon Web Services. That's an active URL that works. Now, let's look at that. It actually does work. Now, what this application does is one simple thing. A sample application allows somebody to enter their email address and name. It saves it into a database, and it supposedly uses SNS to kick off an email to say that you've actually registered. So let's look at that. Here's good old, this is the console for DynamoDB, which is the database that is used when you go ahead and use the tutorial application. Well, as you can see, there actually is one email in there. Okay, that's because I actually tested it. Let's go back to the application. Let's bring it up right here. Sign up today, and I'll actually put in a different email address and hit sign up. Okay, now we should be able to go back to that DynamoDB, and I should be able to refresh the scan here. Okay, because what it did is it created the table. It might not. Well, it should be there. Hang on. Let's do a query. Okay, let's do a scan. And I don't have the one that I just created, and I can't really tell you why. Oh wait, well, it has the information from the previous one right here. I'll actually figure that out why and probably pop that as a note on the web page that goes with it, because I actually should see it in real time here. It should have, oh, you know what? Maybe I have to hit the refresh. Oh, there we go. I didn't refresh. That simple. Okay, so you see that actually the email address that I put there is now both of them are there. Isn't that nice? That's in a DynamoDB table. I don't know if you know a lot about DynamoDB. It's a NoSQL table. It's kind of an interesting NoSQL. I do NoSQL and SQL databases. That's a whole other topic and an entirely different class. But guess what? There it all is. I know this is a lot to digest. Bottom line, information is stored. Okay, and the Elastic Bean Stalk created the instance of the DynamoDB in the virtual machine with the software installed to support the application and to be able to store things in this DynamoDB database. Now, suppose you want to use a different database. It's all configurable. You can make your instance go to a different type of database. Of course, you would also then have to change your code. Okay, so you can see that that all actually worked. Also, over here, one of the other services that you have that's operational with this application that was, by the way, also an Elastic Bean Stalk application is this SNS, which is another service that is part of the new sign up, but basically is sending out messages that go with the application. So yeah, the application has ability to send out messages because that's one of the services that was configured when you created the Elastic Bean Stalk with all the different stuff in there. Okay, so all that put together, what do you got to do? Well, first thing is if you're in my class, one of the things you have to do is get a Hello World application out there, and guess what? That's it. The Hello World application is up and running with just doing the sample tutorial that's built into Amazon Web Services and following the instructions. I did not cover every single step because it's a class. I expect you to be able to do some of those things. The upload and deploy, basically they give you a sample application, you click upload and deploy, and it gets uploaded and deployed, and it's up and operational. And all you've got to do in class is send me this little link right here that shows me that you've got something up and operational if you're using Node.js with this configuration. Also, recall that when I created this, I had a lot of other different types of configurations that I could have done. Now, if you're doing this, right here, I'm going to show you very rapidly that it does have a little tutorial that goes with it. Goes over how to install the Unix utils, how to launch the Elastic Beanstalk, all the different services that you actually get created when you do it, how to create the permissions so that your Elastic Beanstalk can use DynamoDB and SNS, those other services that are available. These are not challenging to do. There's nothing tricky about them. So I don't expect anybody to have any issues with this. Then the page that's created and how to go in and view the tables and the topics that are created. And then it does tell you some information that you really got to consider, because the DynamoDB that was created as part of the tutorial is linked to the instance of the actual the tutorial that you created. And if you're going to do an application, you really want your DynamoDB tables to be independent from the application that you had. And it shows you how to do that. So this is all right here in the Create DynamoDB table, and actually how to do things with the configuration file. You'll have to do some command line. If you look, you'll notice that the actual configuration files are essentially basically look just like JSON. You should have no troubles dealing with JSON because we've covered all that in previous classes. So I'm thinking if you're going to do any of those different services that are available to you in here, and we'll go back to that page that I think I've still got. New startup. Nope, that wasn't it. I closed it. Sorry. But if we go back to that page, you would be able to look at all the different types of beanstalks that you'd be able to create. I'm really hoping this helps you guys out tremendously of getting instances up and running if you're using Amazon Web Services. I also have lectures on Azure. I haven't done lectures on any of the other cloud computing platforms. However, if any of the cloud computing platforms contact me and want me to create a simple tutorial for them that I can use as part of my class, I'd be happy to do that. So this was rapid fire, 13 minutes, everything you need to know to get that Hello World application up and out there on a cloud service using the platform and the stack of your choice. Now you're ready to rock and roll. Good programming. See everybody later.